Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Season 4, Episode 19, All the Madam's Men. Once again, really crazy episode in our little HYDRA-verse. Really fun episode though. We actually finally get the answer. Honestly, I hadn't even thought about what the heck was going on with Aida. I was like, oh, they reveal it in the end that Aida, with all the crap that she's been doing, she's actually been using the framework in order to create a device, which I couldn't believe they did this. It actually tied back into the first half of the season where they talk about the Darkhold and everything. Excuse me. And I was like, wow, I didn't think they'd bring that up. I was like, man, the way they were doing the season was like, cool, Ghost Rider first half, LMD second half. It started, this half started because of the first half, and Radcliffe was doing his own thing anyway, but I was like, okay, they were trying to get some answers and stuff, sure. But then it led to some greater things, and now it's like moved way beyond the Darkhold and any relevance it even had. It's like, nope, that was actually super relevant because she's using that kind of like they were doing early on in the second half of this season with her having like the new version of the brain and stuff. She's using that in order to create a real body for herself, and she goes beyond turning oxygen into iron and little stupid stuff. It's like, nope, I'm going to scan my body within the framework and make a real body for myself. And that was huge. I was like, okay. Like a lot of people on Twitter, because I saw this a lot, I was like, So we got this device that can bring people, make real bodies and stuff. They just have to be scanned, which we see this from the promo. The body within the framework needs to be scanned, and then it can be created. So it probably won't, I'm sure it won't happen at all. It's very unfortunate. But as soon as that was revealed, like, yeah, we're going to make a real body for Aida and the one dude, I totally forgot his name, but make real bodies for them. I was like, man, you got two characters who've been dead for a long time. Would love to see Trip come back to life. Wouldn't hate it if we got this version of Ward either. It would be cool to have him back as like an actual good guy. And it's like, man, that would be amazing if somehow they got them both into the HYDRA headquarters and they got their bodies scanned and then they made real bodies and poof, we have two of the characters back. Sadly, I don't think that'll happen, but I was like, man, what a great tease for that to be, because it's like, it's in there and the first thing that comes to mind is like, if they brought back Trip and Ward, that would be pretty cool. At least this version of Ward, not like, obviously real Ward, not really. But Trip is always awesome. This version of Ward isn't that bad, so I'm like, okay, I would love to see both of them, but I don't think that'll happen. It's just something where it's like, man, they could do it, and who knows, we might see. That would be unbelievable if they actually did that and they brought both of those characters back to life. That would be insane to me. But I would personally love to see that. I highly doubt it, especially with Ward's character, with what they did with the emotional stuff for this episode. Highly doubt either of them are going to do that, but I would love to see both of those characters come back, especially with the newer version of Ward. I think that would be pretty sweet. So definitely did some good stuff with that at the end, where it's revealed that that was Aida's plan the entire time, after she is blown out of the window, which is an amazing sequence in the beginning where Daisy and May are leaving out. And so Aida shows up, it's like, you got nothing, basically you're trapped, you're not escaping. And she goes through kind of the list, and Daisy's like, oh, so I'm just nothing, huh? And she just blows her out the window. Not as graceful as when Captain America did it in his movie, but still an epic sequence, and she's blown out of the window in slow motion, or through the elevator in slow motion, and just hits the ground. I was like, wow, that was a pretty epic shot. So I thought that was a great sequence. Of course, they end up escaping. They're, kind of just blasted on the news with, I was about to call him Leopold because they say it so much, but with Fitz, he kind of wants the news to kind of put it out there like, these two are the traitors, I want them dead. He's talking with his father, he's freaking out. Love the scene where he flipped out on his dad, and he was like, he's in his face, and as soon as he was like, don't snap at me, he was like, ooh, and he like jumped back a little because he's still scared of his father. That made me laugh really, really hard, but I just thought it was such a funny sequence where it was like, he's losing his mind. This is the woman, with his altered memories, this is the woman that he loves, and he doesn't want them captured, any of that crap. It's like, I want them dead. And his dad was like, don't you snap at me, and he just was like, oof, like, probably shouldn't do that to my father. So I just love that scene because it made me laugh. But I just love what they did with this whole episode where they go through, of course we have Daisy and May going through. I love the scene where they're, it's like right before they end up getting to the secret base where, they almost ultimately get chased and the dude gets shot in the leg, and it looked like he died when he hit the ground. Like, he got shot in the leg and he hit the ground with his eyes closed. I was like, okay, I guess he passed out. But the scene before that where they're walking and the woman sees him and May was like, she must, that's not a good look. And Daisy was just like, maybe she's racist. Like, I just thought that was so funny. She's just like, oh, Asian woman. I just thought that was so funny that they even wrote that line in there. But of course, they're being tracked down. They ultimately do get followed, and so they have to kind of hide in plain sight. And that's where we get, at least for Daisy, the reveal that May is the one that killed Maze. And all I could think of was, man, I can, because it's kind of up in the air at this point. We really don't know. But I'm assuming they're all going to remember what happened. And all I could think of when she kind of revealed it to Daisy is that Daisy, of course, was upset that one of her friends died. But then it's also like she's looking at another one of her friends who she's known way longer. And it's like, man, that's going to stick with you. Like, that's all I could think of during that scene. And I'm like, man, I feel like it's going to be worse for May than it is for Daisy because, May ultimately, she kind of made these choices. It's not mind control. Like, that would be an excuse that you could use in most, kind of comic book situations. Like, oh, I was under mind control. It wasn't really me. Or that's the dog. She just popped the door. Sadie, hi. She just popped the door wide open. She's just coming in here. But it's like, it's not really mind control or anything like that. It's just this alternate reality where these were kind of the choices you would have made if this is the way life played out. And I don't know how that's going to affect these characters. And, that was something that came up super early when they first showed Mac. Is like, his daughter's with him. And how is that going to play out? Once again, I doubt they'll be getting all the hero characters to this scanning machine and they all get real bodies. So he's going to ultimately wake up and be like, I had that extra time with my daughter. Maybe they will have the memories of these entire extra lives and all this other stuff as well. But it was just a crazy sequence where it's like, man, it really sucks for Daisy to hear that news. But you can kind of see it where it's like, man, that really blows in like kind of two different ways because she's sad that she lost someone, and then it's like I'm looking at someone who's gonna like lose it in the future where they were the ones responsible for killing someone they actually trusted. So I thought that was a great sequence, but of course things start to work together. Coulson actually takes over a little bit, kind of pulls his normal world role where he's taking over for S.H.I.E.L.D. and ultimately they go in, they save Daisy, they save May. Matt goes in as well, and he has a moment where he's, pointing the gun at May. And of course I knew, he wasn't going to actually end up killing her, but it was just like, all this stuff is going to come back. Like I said, like what memories they will and will not have. And it's just like, man, this is going to be very crazy to see once everything's all said and done. But love the sequence. They ultimately get saved. Ward ends up realizing how things are actually going to end up playing out, where Daisy and some other people, he still doesn't know exactly what's going on, but it's like, when you say us, you don't mean you and me. So I thought that was interesting the way they kind of played it. And he asked her when they're towards the end of the episode, will my version of Sky come back to me when you leave? And she's like, I really don't know, but I hope so. And it's like, this is interesting. He ultimately talks about how he doesn't want to be that evil version of him. So I don't know if you guys can hear her sneezing. But it's like, he doesn't want to be that evil version, so he's going to sacrifice himself, which he doesn't have to do, because when they do the report at the end, a lot of people who are shown this news that HYDRA is actually, or, I'm sure they have multiple bases, so they're actually like taking in children and stuff who don't listen to them. That news is out there, and people are willing to stand up and fight back. So I'm very excited for how things are going to play out in this alternate world, because even Coulson says it was like, in order to save ourselves, I'm pretty sure we have to save the entire world. So they have to save this entire alternate reality, and then, or at least within the United States, and then they'll finally be able to escape and get to the location that they need to get to. Radcliffe is just getting absolutely beat up, and of course they're teasing him now with the idea that he could come back to life because they can scan his body. So if he helps them out, they'll scan his body and they can make a new version of him in the real world. But for Fitz currently, it would just be like this other world. And something that they do in this episode that has me very curious is Fitz asking Aida to go with her and go to this other world, and she wants that. So it makes me wonder if this version of Fitz is recreated, it'll only be that 3D version of Fitz. It would just be like with Tripp and Ward. It's still Fitz's body, but once they make this new version of him, it'll only be that version with those old memories. It won't be the version that we know with altered memories. Those will be his memories. So I'm like, wow, they could actually do that if they wanted to. I doubt it'll happen with that version of Fitz, just because of the fact that they have to go through and save him and everything. Because of course, if they scan his body and Aida is allowed to make a new version of him, she would just blow his brains out, in the other world. It would be really easy. It would just be like, all right, you're done. because I don't need you anymore. I have this version of Fitz that's basically under my complete control. So it's very interesting how this could end up playing out with all these different people that could be brought back to life, and Aida possibly getting a new body. I would assume she will, because even in the promo they're scanning her. I doubt they're gonna, they'll be scanning her and then they, swarm the Hydra headquarters, but it is possible. With the way this episode ended, there's the possibility of that, where they stop it. I don't know, like I said, as far as Trip and Ward being able to get to this device and scan their bodies and Radcliffe and all that, I don't know if everything like that will play out really well, but there's potential that they could bring in so many random civilians and stuff that they just swarm the headquarters. I doubt it, because that's still dumb. I mean, it's still Hydra. You can have as many people as you want. They got Quinjets and all this crap, and they will just destroy all life. So I don't think they'll be attacking the headquarters, but there's so many possibilities for where they could be headed in this next episode. Very excited for it. I'm really looking forward to, just what they do, because this episode, a big chunk of this episode was like, Gemma and Daisy constantly being like, okay, this is what's happening, but I can't really go into all the details, or just I'm not going to go into all the details because you're fake and this is real and that's real. So that was a big chunk of this episode where they were kind of avoiding it, and I feel like at some point they're just going to have to tell everybody, because things are starting to really come together. I don't think it'll matter too much, mostly because I think they're kind of going to all-out war within these next couple episodes, but that was a big chunk of this one. Like, Trip hears about it and he's like, that's too crazy of a story to just make up. Ward realizes that it's the truth when he actually hears it from Daisy rather than from Gemma. So, there's a lot going on there with characters, and Daisy kind of avoids talking to May about it, and of course Coulson knows, and because all the Tahiti stuff. So there are a lot of possibilities for what they could do with characters being like, what do I do here, or how's this going to play out. But I'm super excited for this next episode. Did some great stuff in this. It got some really good action too. Like when Daisy and May were leaving out, May did like the full-on front flip. She was doing some Matrix stuff. I was like, that was pretty cool. They did like some full-on wire work where she jumps and lands. Like, it was an impossible landing, but it looked really cool. So really enjoyed that sequence. We got a reference to Victoria Hand, who showed up, I don't know where in this series. She apparently was, because I looked her up. I was like, I wasn't familiar with the character. So I looked her up on Google when Ward said that was the agent that came to him. And then apparently she's been in the show, and I just didn't remember it. Like, she's a smaller character anyway, just working with S.H.I.E.L.D. So it's like, okay, she's been in the show, and they referenced her again. I thought that was just kind of cool. Like, oh, that's a bit of a callback even for their own series. It wasn't just a reference, because she was in there somewhere. I just don't remember where. But I like that reference that they threw in there, and just seeing where things are headed with the team kind of really being back together again, minus Fitz, of course. So I'm looking forward to seeing where that goes. Of course, taunting Radcliffe, saying, hey, we can get you a new body into the other world, and just how all this craziness is going to play out. It seems like things do come to a head, and someone could potentially die, and I believe they mentioned Coulson in the promo, that it was kind of Fitz who had a gun to Coulson. So we'll see how everything works out. But once again, crazy freaking alternate reality episode. You wouldn't think an alternate reality would have this much impact on the series, but it's like, man, they're former friends fighting against each other. If they die, they actually die for real. We actually have lost a character, and now we have to go into potentially losing some other characters, maybe seeing some characters brought back to life. Once all of this is said and done, whoever is alive is going to have all these horrible memories of what they did in this alternate reality too. So there's still the emotional element to come. If not by the end of this season, it will definitely, if not by the end of this one, it'll definitely have an impact in the next season as to what everyone did in this alternate reality before Daisy and Gemma showed up to kind of break them all out of it. So there's just a million elements to what they're doing right now. So very excited for these last couple episodes. I'm not sure how much further we have, but I would assume we're getting pretty close. It's almost May. We're getting close to the end of the season. So however many episodes we have left, I'm looking forward to it. But of course, we'd love to know what you guys thought about this episode. So please comment below. Let me know your favorite parts, least favorite parts. And of course, with this machine being created, Aida will be allowed to get a brand new body. It seems like she will, because they were already scanning her in the promo. I just assume that she's going to have a human body. Who do you think will also be kind of reborn? Like, are they going to give Radcliffe a new body? Will the heroes ultimately take over this machine and, like, boom, Ward comes back, Trip comes back? Where do you guys think things are headed in this with this device officially being completed by the end of this episode. So we'd love to know your theories on that. And of course, I want to know what you guys thought about the episode in general. So please comment below, let me know. And thanks for watching.